Welcome to Carolina Varsity's 2013 Week 4 recap. I'm Jeff Miller.
I'm Anthony Perkins. I covered the South Point Q Foundation game last week. As expected, South Point didn't really have any trouble at all with the Q Foundation. They jumped out to a 21-0 first quarter lead. Tanner Muse started off the scoring with a 55-yard punt return on the very first punt of the game after like 5 downs. I think Q Foundation did get a first down on their first drive. Coach Fedora from Carolina had flown into the South Point game to take a look at Tanner Muse, and actually he got into the stand just about the time Tanner Muse was accepting that kick to run it back for a touchdown. Then on South Point's second possession, Jaquan Brooks scored on like the 4th or 5th play on the 35, 40-yard run. And then Tyler Bray added another 2-yard plunge before the quarter ended. South Point added another score, 2 more scores in the second quarter, take a 35-0 lead into the half. When the teams came back out in the second half, both coaches had agreed to a continuous running clock, so the game was somewhat greatly shortened. Each team ran only 11 offensive plays each in the second half. South Point added 2 more scores. Jaquan Brooks scored on the first play from scrimmage in the second half after a 50-yard kickoff return by Tyler Bray. And then South Point coaches started substituting in a lot of players at different positions and players that don't play much. DeAndre King went after the quarterback position for the third quarter and the first part of the fourth quarter. They're trying to develop him as a backup quarterback. As you may recall, a couple of years ago, South Point's playoff hopes were dashed in the first round after their quarterback broke an ankle. So they're trying to develop additional players, and so that's what took place in the second half. The Q Foundation did muster 1 score in the third quarter on a 35-yard broken play run. I'll be honest with you, I'm sorry I forgot the player's name, but that was pretty much the expected results of the South Point Q Foundation game.
And I covered the Forestview East Lincoln game, and the first part of the game it looked like it was going to be a defensive struggle because East Lincoln turned it over on their first drive, then Forestview turned it over, then East Lincoln turned it over again, and it was like back and forth. And just like your game, the first score was not by the offense, but it was by the defense or special teams. In this case, it was a defense. When Jarvis Jeffries, Forestview's defensive back, put pressure on East Lincoln's Chaz Surratt, he actually had 2 hands on him and was in the process of bringing him down, but he threw it toward an ineligible receiver, and which is grounding and in the end zone. That's a safety, so that gave Forestview a 2-0 lead. And then Forestview's next on the ensuing possession, Forestview's Logan Bradley hits Mo Neal for what I think was a 29-yard touchdown pass, and just like that, it was 9-0. But this is East Lincoln that we're talking about, and they're not riding on a 19-game winning streak and being the 2A defending state champs for nothing. So they came back with 2 scores on their own. One was Chaz Surratt's 80-yard pass to number 22. I'm sorry, young man, I forgot your name. I left my stat sheet at the house, but I'll get you. Then Chaz Surratt, after East Lincoln stopped Forestview on their drives, Chaz Surratt got East Lincoln on the board again, this time on his feet from the 1-yard line, and extra point was missed, and it was 13-9 East Lincoln at halftime, and looked like Forestview was going to be in trouble. And early on in the third quarter, Chaz Surratt again extended East Lincoln's lead to 20-9, and then, but that would be kind of the end of their fun right there, as Forestview took the game over. I mean, they shut running back Bishop Ford down. I mean, Bishop Ford was running hot prior to this game, averaging like 175 yards a game, and but East Lincoln kept him contained for the most part, and it was the Logan Bradley show from there on out. Early in the fourth quarter, thanks to 3 consecutive scores, Forestview was able, or 2 consecutive scores, Forestview was able to take a 23-20 lead, and then Forestview extended their lead to 37-27 late in the fourth quarter, and East Lincoln trying to muster a comeback. Chas Surratt was stripped by Jarvis Jeffries. I mentioned his name earlier. In colleges, you might need to start looking at this kid, because he brings it on just about every play that he's in. And the fumble was recovered by Garrett Robinson, his fellow defensive tackle. And Forestview put the nail in the coffin with less than 2 minutes to go up 44-27 on East Lincoln. In that game, Logan Bradley had 5 touchdown passes, 3 to McKelty Armstrong and 2 to Mo Neal, and then they had a rushing touchdown by Montavis Rogers, kind of like the Michael Bush of that running attack. And defense forced 5 turnovers in that game, including that fumble. Chas Surratt threw a pick, and then there were 3 other fumbles. I forget by who else. But I try not to give kids that kind of publicity. So, and Forestview had 2 turnovers of their own in that game. But it was a great game. It was a hard-fought game. And, East Lincoln, you're still a great team. I know your 19-game winning streak went down, but hold your heads up high. Y'all look good, and y'all should be able to take that conference this year.